edition of the Graph Podcast. Join us in the latest edition of this podcast where we discuss all the new events in the Graph community. Now, 2020 was really an exciting year for the Graph. It was the year in which the Graph has laid the quintessential foundation for becoming an integral part of the Web3 stack. Now, it was also in this year where we saw a rapid and widespread adoption by industry leaders of the Graph protocol, for example, Uniswap, Balancer, Synthetics, and Banker. More than 2 months have already passed since we have celebrated the Graph's long-anticipated mainnet launch, and since then, many exciting developments have paved the way for a vibrant, decentralized future. Now, in the second edition of our podcast, we want to have a closer look at everything that happened within the Graph ecosystem during the last weeks and during the last 2 months. Now, something that is really exciting is that we have seen the continued expansion to Layer 1 and Layer 2 blockchains. When the Graph launched, Ethereum was the first Layer 1 blockchain that was natively supported by the Graph protocol, and in January and February 2021, the Graph network has opened its dynamic Web3 opportunities to a wider audience by adding support for the Layer 1, Layer 2 blockchains like Polkadot, Solana, Celo, Phantom, and Polygon. Now, with the recent additions to the Graph's vibrant community of more than 10,000 active developers and over 8 integrated blockchains, this is an important juncture in blockchain development. Now, every single integrated blockchain further enriches the Graph's flourishing ecosystem that is already brimming with more than 8,000 subgraphs. Now, these numbers are really exciting because all these subgraphs are providing applications such as Gnosis, Balancer, DAO Stack, and Decentraland with the vital data for their dApps. Without these subgraphs, many of these dApps could not operate today, so this is really important to highlight. Now, while Ethereum is riddled with congestion and high gas fees, the Graph is moving forward towards a multi-blockchain world to provide a stress-resistant and decentralized indexing layer to the entire Web3 ecosystem. And this step will be even more important once data crucial to the use case of decentralized applications is spread across multiple storage layers and blockchains. Now, once we see this process happening, once we see the data being even more spread, the Graph can have a real competitive advantage because you are able with the Graph to query all the data from various blockchains. A second development is that we have seen during the last 2 months is that the community is taking shape. Now, we've seen the first editions of office hours with the Graph's indexing experts hosted by Jim Cousins, and in late February this was a new Q&A format that was introduced to the entire ecosystem and to the community. About the office hours, it's a welcome get-together for indexers and everyone else who's interested in joining the discussions with indexing subject matter experts, like Gary Morris, Indexer Payne, and already mentioned Jim Cousins. Now, in the first 2 sessions, we saw that community members discussed a wide range of topics, from indexer-related topics about infrastructure and software to governance discussions and community initiatives. Now, if you are interested in the office hours, you are more than welcome to join us in the official Discord server. Now, this is a great and fantastic place to get to know the indexers of your choice. Many of your favorite indexers are active in the office hours and you can learn more about them, but you can also ask your own questions about indexing if you are running an indexer or if you want to get some kind of feedback about delegating. But please note that these discussions are moderated towards the topic of indexing, but again, there's always room for additions if you have any questions. Another development in the community was the inauguration of the Graph Town Hall. It's a monthly meeting, monthly get-together in which the community can learn more about the latest updates from Edge and Node, the Graph Foundation, and many more community initiatives. So in the first town hall session, we had Eva Balin talk about grant evaluations, and we had also initiatives from further community members like Brandon Ramirez from Agile Node, who presented a dive into the GIP, which is the graph improvement process. Now this presentation by Brandon was followed up by a presentation of Snapshot by Dave Kajpust, also a Agile Node team member. And Snapshot is basically a tool that you can use for governance voting. And it's really exciting because you do not need to pay gas fees to participate in the governance process. This was followed up by Ariel Barmat, also an Agile Node team member who spoke about potential protocol updates in the future. And last but not least, we also saw a quick presentation from Gavin from Figment, who presented a proposal to change the indexer cut mechanism. Another interesting community development was that we have seen the graph launching into NFTs. Now, we have seen the very first NFT subgraph community call in which developers who are building NFTs with the graph talked about their ongoing projects. Now, the call featured discussions on how subgraphs are used by NFT developers, and we saw many new exciting developments in this space. So, aside from community news, we have also seen that Agile Node was kickstarted. So the core team behind the Graph Protocol regrouped from Graph Protocol Inc. to Agile Node, which is basically a move to emphasize the ongoing decentralization of the network. Now the new company Agile Node is out of stealth mode and continues to provide services to the wider Web3 ecosystem. So, let us summarize this podcast. Now the Graph Network is at a pivotal junction and provides the foundation for a functioning Web3 and DeFi ecosystem that is destined to revolutionize the way the internet works. Now, in the first 2 months of 2021, we've seen that the graph provides a blockchain development stack that developers can utilize to seamlessly build decentralized applications that do not depend on a centralized server architecture. Now, this is just coming in, and this is really exciting news for everyone interested in the entire ecosystem, because if you are signed up to the Graph Spring newsletter, you will see that in February the monthly query volume exceeded 14 billion. Now this means that we have seen a 20% month-over-month growth, indicating continued rise in the adoption of Ethereum apps. Now this is really spectacular. Now for comparison, in December, we have seen 8 billion total queries. In January, we had 14 billion queries. And now in February, it's 14. Now these are some really exciting news, and with these good news, I want to close this podcast for today, and I wish you all the best. Thanks for listening, and happy delegating or indexing.